Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Patricia Capella with Clarion Events Food and Beverage Group. I'm very excited today to introduce Nancy Trent, who is founder of the leading wellness PR firm in the country, author of 7 books, and with 40 plus years of consumer PR and investor relations and crisis management. She joins us today to discuss influencing influencers who are sheltered at home and how to connect to use them to improve your business. A few housekeeping notes before the presentation begins. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We will be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and do encourage you to participate by using the question pane. There will be time for questions and answers at the end of the session. This webinar, as well as others in our series, will be made available on our website in the coming week. Now, without further delay, let me turn the program over to Nancy. Nancy?
Thank you, Patricia. You know, this morning I was thinking about this presentation, and so many people are wonderful cooks and they know a lot about food and they have very sophisticated palates, and then there are other people who, you know, like other parts of their business. And I want to say that the way to help more people find out about your food and the business that you are so passionate about is by understanding how to influence the influencers, which we're going to do today. And I have to say there's never been a better time to start a campaign to do this, and this is something that you can actually very much do by yourself. So thank you. So let's start out with your brand is not what you tell people it is, it's what other people say they are. So what, you know, we need to understand that in today's world, before COVID, and unfortunately it'll be after COVID, we're a little bit skeptical about what a brand says about itself, what an ad says about a brand. So it's really important to get other people to talk about you. And how do you do that? Well, the first thing you need to do is you really need to look into yourself and think to yourself, why is it that you are so passionate about your brand? What is it that you are trying to get people to say about your brand? And once you understand why you're really in business and what you're really trying to accomplish long term, I think most of it will be easy to think of after that. So who are the influencers? So if you have a local restaurant, what celebrities or experts or people with large followings, whether they're magazine writers or bloggers or Instagrammers, who influences a lot of people, who has great case studies? In fact, what we say is there's 4 categories of influencers. The first category of influencers are celebrities, and they're very, very important. And if you could find them, they're great. They're the hardest to get, but I can assure you that if your goal is aligned with their goals, and you can help figure out ways to help them accomplish their goals, I could tell you you could do that. So celebrities are really important, and I want to say that every single one of our clients has celebrity endorsers, and we don't pay any of them. That's because we have really good brands, and we think of ways to that, you know, we have really good brands, and we think of ways to get celebrities to want to work with us. And it's also really important to think about, you know, who are the experts in your category. So if your product is only about flavor, or if your product or your restaurant is only about nutrition, there are nutritionists and dietitians and physicians who can help you, and there, of course, and there are other kinds of experts that are authors. There are chefs who can comment. And then the third category of influencer, after celebrity, after expert, are people with large followings. And that could be anything from newspaper writers, magazine writers, bloggers, TV hosts, there's local media, there's national media, so much out there. And the fourth category are people who've had really good experiences with your food, your product, your service, whatever it is. So it's really important to figure out what kinds of influencers you may have easy access to that are low-hanging fruit and who maybe you need to cultivate a relationship with. And it's really important to partner with your influencers to become advocates for your brand. And what's the best way to do that? Think about their brand and how you can help them. And of course, keep creating your brand to be something that people are proud to be a part of. And we also want to make it easy for influencers to show their support. So don't ask them to write something or go somewhere. If you want them to write something, you may ask them what they would like to say, and you write it and ask them to approve it. Instead of asking them to go somewhere, you should try and go where they are and make their life easy, or figure out a way that it's easy for them to get to your restaurant. And we just have to figure out ways to incentivize them. Are they coming out with a new book? Is there a new product that they're working with? What is it that you could sort of collaborate and make something happen? And of course, there are also ways that you can increase the sales of your brand's advocate, whatever that may be. Soy? So it's not self-promotion when someone else is saying it. People absolutely love stories, and it is just so important to make sure that your brand, your service, your restaurant has a really great story. And if you can't figure out what the story is, you got to dig a little bit deeper. And I want to give a moment to say that when you're a chef, when you are a product formulator, whatever aspect it is, if this is not what you focus on, this is going to be hard for you to do. I know that in these crazy times, I really like doing things that I know how to do. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something. This is sort of hard, and you're going for something bigger that it may take a minute more to do than something that you already know how to do and know how to anticipate what the results are. So give yourself a minute, be kind to yourself, be forgiving, and be supportive. You really need to use influencers to spread your message. It's going to get so much further if you can. And the way to build credibility for your brand is to get articles in magazines, newspapers, television shows, blogs. People believe that. And it's not you talking. It's about getting other people to talk about your brand. And the more you expand the reach of the brand, the more you're in other places. We say that our goal is to make you viral and spiral. So anywhere you look, there's the name of your restaurant, there's the name of your product, there's a review of your restaurant. Oh, there's tips on how to make something that is your specialty in the restaurant, or an article about how you figured out how to make your business work in these times. You have to create a buzz by building a network of influencers that are always talking about you and proud to be affiliated with you. Next. So there are basically 4 different kinds of influencers. Like I said, the first one is, without a doubt, we are a celebrity-obsessed society. We are super excited about our celebrities. And I want to say we consider celebrities to be A, B, and C list actors, musicians, models, athletes, people that everybody wants to hear about, people who everybody wants to emulate, people who everybody wants to hear their stories. And then it's really important to figure out who are the experts. Who are the dietitians, the nutritionists, the chefs, the restaurant reviewers that you could be working with. And you have to get in front of these experts and figure out what it is that they're trying to promote, so you can collaborate. And then, of course, there's social influencers. Those are Instagrammers, bloggers, vloggers, TikTokers, product reviewers, anyone who has a really good following, and you can give them a product in exchange for posting. Well, I mean, really, how can people write about something unless they've really experienced it? There's we've all heard about these examples of unboxing, where people do where people actually open up boxes on it. You know, you have to make sure that people have samples of your product, so they have they know what they're writing about, and they can write about it accurately and with credibility. And of course, you need enthusiasts, and those are early adapters. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the book The Tipping Point, but there are some people who will try anything just because it's new, and those people are pioneers, and all it has to do is be new. So you may say, oh no, I'm not new. The thing about me is I'm old, but maybe you have a new product, or you're using a new ingredient, or you're a restaurant, you have some new dishes. You know, think about ways that you can activate pioneers. The next category are early adapters, and those are people who are interested in trying something that pioneers have lasted, you know, have survived doing. And then there are some people who are more mainstream, and those are the people who they still have the dials on them. So there are all different types of consumers. Next. So how do people find out about you? Well, or how can you even find out about people who could be potential collaborators or potential influencers that you're looking for? Well, one thing you could do is you could research online. Everybody can look online. There are so many opportunities to do research online. And of course, there are influencers that you stumble on, and you know, you happen to meet by accident. I live in New York City, and I'm always meeting people on the street, in restaurants, in stores, and in meetings, in different situations. You have to keep your eyes open, and you have to be prepared with an elevator speech, so you can always talk about your product and always get people excited about it. And even if it's not natural to you, which I'm almost sure it wouldn't be, force yourself to do it, because there's so many benefits. You know, sometimes we have to take the medicine, and if you're a shy person and you really don't want to boast, this is not the time to be shy. And of course, there's peers. You can always be speaking with your friends and trusted sources about your brand, and figure out from them who might be people to talk to. So, you know, today, everyone, and especially influencers, are doing a lot of eating and a lot of sharing, and they're looking for news, they're looking for information, they're looking for new ideas. And people may say, well, you know, it's hard to get our product. That's okay. Talk about it now. There's all kinds of research that says if marketing is happening in times like this, the return when things get back to normal, you'll have an exponential benefit. So get the word, fill up the pipelines, get people to be ready to talk about you even more. And now is the time to introduce them. We say it takes 7 to 11 times for people to hear something that they haven't heard of before. Now, you may think to yourself, you know, that's insane. Like, you know, I'm a smart person. I'm aware. I'm alert. Like, how could that be? But I have to say from experience, actually, that it does take a long. So make those contacts. Let people know you're around, what you're doing, and what to expect. And it's really great if you can actually become a part of their content and be able to help them, whether it's with copy, whether it's with photographs, whether it's with other contacts. So how do you convert buyers into influencers? And this is something that has never been as important as it is today. In the old days, we used to say that if you got a bad review, if you had a bad experience, you told it to 10 people. Today, if you have a bad experience and you post it, you could be telling millions of people. So you really need to make sure that you are converting your buyers into influencers. So how do you do that? Number one, you give them content. Make sure that everybody you know, has opportunities, that you're making it easy for people to contact you, and give them feedback. Let them know that you really like their article, or you really like their TV segment, or their blog, or their product or their recipe or their experience, or you too have a dog and you know what it's like walking a dog, or you too have children and you know what it's like to be homeschooling right now. Give them feedback. You want feedback, they want feedback. What did our moms say? Do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. And give them loyalty. If you want consumers to stay loyal to their brand, to them, you make sure that you give them things and reasons to be loyal. And that can be information, that could be opportunities. There's so many different ways to show consumers today about loyalty. And think about what it is that you can do, and how much different things cost you, and what you can gain by these kinds of investments. It's you have to show them love. Start out by giving them feedbacks, then give them loyalty, and of course attention. Make sure you're aware of what situation they're in, what charities are they involved in, what movements are they involved in. You can be a part, you may choose to be a part of some of the things there, and your consumers may actually have interests that are very much aligned to yours that you didn't even know about before. You may have not known about the specific association. You may not have known that people were joining together to do something. There's all different things. So pay attention to the people who love your brand. Soy? So what are the basic qualifications of an influencer? Number one most important thing is they have to really like what you're doing. And by the way, a very important quality of yours when you're seeking influencers is that you need to be really passionate about your brand. If you're really passionate about their brand, about your brand, they feel much more comfortable about being passionate about your brand. And passion is infectious, you know. When you like something, it usually likes you. So you've got to, and one thing you can be sure of, if you don't like something, they're definitely not going to like you. So get that passion going and get it started and ignite it. And the better known the influencer is, obviously, the more reach their opinion is going to have. And the more followers they have, obviously, the more they can impact what you're doing. And whatever expertise they have, make sure that that's a good way that they can choose how you are. So you have to really figure out how much you're willing to do for them based on this on these various criteria. Next. So what are the 6 degrees of separation? It's, you know, you are going to be shocked when you figure out how easy this is to do. Is someone a nutrition author? You know, do they write for magazines, newspapers, television shows, or even books about nutrition? If your product is a nutritious product, if your characteristic is that you have a certain kind of cuisine or you cook a certain way, well, you know, then you need an author who specializes in Italian cooking or French cooking or keto or whatever. Food bloggers are someone who, you know, are there blogs that you're following that you think, I bet this person would be really interested in what I am writing about. You may want to contact them. Chefs are so accessible. They need to know about new ingredients. They need to know about what other people are doing, and it's wonderful to get information from people. And people also like sharing tips that they found with people who they have things in common with. Reality cooking show contestants. Now, you know, these are people who not as many people are after them as the hosts of these shows, but they too have a reach, and they too can help you. And of course, local restaurant community. Everybody can help each other bring more people to your restaurant, and get more people to like different kinds of foods that you may be serving there. And of course, in today's world, we have so many different people telling us, which we're going to talk about in a moment, but high profile fitness trainers, boy, whether the food, whatever kind of food you have, there are fitness trainers that like it, because there's so many different ideas about what good nutrition is, because we all have different bodies, we're in different places in our lives, and we all have, you know, different kinds of foods are good for different people. What are the 4 elements of a successful ambassador program? The first thing is they have to be passionate about your brand. We're going to keep coming back to that. Passion, passion, passion. They have to have influence over their audience. They have to be doing a lot of things, you know, and if they're not doing a lot of things, you can help them. So if they're a chef and they're not blogging as much or posting as much, you can come up with blogs or posts that they could use that look like they did them, if they approve them and they want to send it out. Make it easy for people. One of the most successful techniques for getting things done in these difficult times is to do things for people. People have limited bandwidth for understandable reasons, no judgment here. If you want to get something done, make it as easy as possible for people to do, and that may mean doing it for them with their approval. And make sure that if they're saying that they like your restaurant or they like your food product or whatever the situation is, that you are getting it out on your social media and traditional media channels, that you appreciate their endorsement. Next. So how to qualify influencers to be an advocate for your brand? Well, brand advocates are 70% more likely to be seen as a good source of information by the people around them. In other words, it's not, going back to what we said earlier, it's not what you say about your brand, it's what other people are saying about you. You've got to activate those tentacles and get people to be talking about you. And the way to do that is find commonalities. People hear what they want to hear, and there is so much information coming at us today that we get to choose what we want to listen to. So you have to make what you're saying about your brand interesting to them. Think of, you know, the idea of the Trojan horse. It looks like a horse, but inside there's soldiers, and they could get it into the gates, and then as soon as they were in the gates of the village, the doors opened and the soldiers. Same thing here. We need to talk in ways that people are interested in what we're talking about. So we have to look at what it is that we want them to be talking about in a lot of different ways. So how do you qualify influencers to advocate for your brand? Well, how passionate are they? Does the potential ambassador tap into your target audience? So there's lots of ways to talk about this. People could fit into your potential audience, or they could be aspirational to your audience. Do they reach new audiences that you want to tap into? What kind of influence do they have over your audience? You know, it's so interesting to us to see what kind of influencers actually get people to buy more product and what kind really don't have that impact. There are different kinds of people. One kind of person is someone who you listen to their advice. Another kind of person may be someone who you're fascinated by your advice and you think they're nuts, but you think they're cool even though they're nuts, and you're not going to do what they do. But all different kinds of people to make the world go round. Is your brand message appropriate for your audience or for their audience? How much are they actually willing to do for you? And, you know, this is a sliding scale. They may not be willing to do very much for you, but they may be. So what do they say? Do you want 1% of $1 billion or 100% of $100? You know, different ways to look at it. And you have to figure out, they may not want to do very much for you, but you're willing to do a lot that will impact what it looks like their message is. So there's all different ways to do it. It's all how you use the kind of influence you've been able to get for your brand. Does your image upgrade their image? I mean, think about that. You know, Do you have a brand that's very sophisticated that would make someone sound sophisticated and sound smart? Do you have a brand that if I'm eating there or I'm eating that food, does that mean I take good care of myself and I know what's good? Is your brand a trendy brand? Does that mean that if I'm at that place that I'm a trendy person and I know what's in and cool and what's happening? You have to take this into account. Soy? So you have to have a symbiotic relationship. You know, both people have to, both you and the influencer have to really benefit from this relationship. And the more ways that you can make that happen, the longer you can make that happen, the better. So how do influencers help your brand? Well, sales is one thing. You know, the more people hear about your brand, the more confidence they have in your brand, the more excitement they have about your brand, the more they're going to buy it, the more they're going to go to your restaurant, the more they're going to want to go for your takeout. Influencers enhance the prestige of the brand. Hey, you know, if this person likes it and they have all this going on in their world, it must be pretty good. Is an influencer, and we see this with a lot of people today, that people are trying to say, hey, you know what, I'm just like you. I may be a globally known, internationally known actor or actress, but you know, I take care of my children too, or I cook dinner too, or you know, I have to work out too. Sometimes you have to think about what your brand has that an influencer would say, you know what, that's really, really me and I feel good. And the fact that your restaurant is where they were born, where they grew up, where they currently live, where their mom lives, where their partner is from, all this kind of stuff may really work. And you have to create interview opportunities where they want to be interviewed and make sure there's an opportunity for them to easily say the name of your product. You have to broaden your contact base and make sure you're out there with local communities or national communities and doing things that help other people. You've got to be out there making more contacts. And I know for some people that's so hard. And I totally understand it, because if you tasted the way that some of my meals taste, you'd understand I'm a terrible cook. So I guess I shouldn't be, I'm a cook that's trying. So, or working on it. We understand that for some people, certain things are easy, and for other people, different things are easy. But to get your brand out there, this is something you have to overcome. And there are all kinds of promotional opportunities with working with celebrities or experts or people with large followings or people who've had good opportunities and or good outcomes with your product. And of course, you can, you know, the more influencers you have, the more interesting story opportunities you would have. Soy? So, you know, what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're giving your product, you know, you're sharing your products and your services with people who you want to be talking about your brand. You're using their experiences and things that they want to help increase awareness. You're creating new opportunities. You're getting more press and social media coverage for them so that you're helping build their brand. You're helping their favorite charities get more money. You're adding more value to the influencers platform. You're helping them look more credible and look more sophisticated, helping them to get more clout in their industry and in yours. And you know, there is so much that can be gotten from an influencer relationship, and so much that you could be giving for an influencer relationship that will only make you feel better. It's really not about the money, it's what you believe in. And it's easy to figure that out. So how do you build an ambassador program? Well, you have to Identify ambassadors that you think would make sense for your brand. We've talked about that. See what your commonalities are, figure out what their goals are, figure out what your passion is. Who are the people that you want to go after? And then also think of who did the media quote, because you want an influencer that's going to help you build the brand. And then you have to contact them, and what are they willing to do? And you can give them all kinds of opportunities. You can help support them in all different kinds of ways, whether that be, there's all different ways to do that. And what you want are people who come up often as thought leaders in your category, whether it's you're focusing on nutrition or taste or style. Soy? You have to partner with those influencers to become brand ambassadors, and you have to look for synergies and discover where there's common ground so that you could do things together. That is really what it's all about. It's how do we build this brand together? How do we build this image? How do we create a relationship? How do I actually get the influencer to really be after me and want to work with me more? That's the goal, and it's accomplishable. Soy? So so what are some incentives that would resonate? Well, everyone wants opportunities. Everyone wants more notoriety and making sure that you're getting articles, TV segments, social media opportunities for them. Maybe there are other ambassadors, maybe you could become ambassadors for their brand as well as your brand, and get more publicity in social media. These are all things that you could be doing to help. And so to build an influencer program, the whole point of it is you want to increase sales. You're in business. So what I could tell you is that a lot of influencers look for the opportunity that they could be selling your product or getting more people to come to your restaurant, or for many different ways. They have their own personal ways of counting that or collecting that you could be working out with them. Another negotiable opportunity. Soy? So what to expect from influencers? They should be posting about you. They should include you in interviews that you get for them and that they get for themselves. They should be coming to your event so you could promote that they're at your event and make your event seem even more exciting, and that they're visible with your brand, that people can tell, oh, this person is really a fan. So how do you rate an influencer? Well, one small voice can have a huge internet amplification. We see that every day when we log on and throughout the day. It's really important to figure out how much clout they have and help them increase that clout, because everybody wants more. And we know that the more you do, the more people that are paying attention to what they're doing, the more the word's going to go out there. And how often are they doing something? And can you give them more opportunities to do really cool things? And always remember that you can pay it forward, which I believe in, but don't count on that. And before we went on to questions, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about a lot of the really important trade events that are coming up. Patricia, did you want to talk about that?
Yes, thank you so much, Nancy.
Sure.
Again, I appreciate all the expertise and all the tips and ideas. I know that I definitely learned a lot today, and we have actually a good amount of questions that have been coming in. This slide just showcases all of our upcoming events. If we want to move on to the next slide, I just wanted to touch upon our foodandbevshows.com website. We've created a resource page. Any information and content that's coming, from all of our industry experts, partners, associations, this page is continuously being updated. So please definitely refer here. The presentation today will be made available on this website as well, so you can listen in at any time. Everybody will also receive an email with a live recording, and you can refer here to other webinars that are happening this week and in weeks to come. So thanks again, Nancy. Let's move on to the questions. We have a lot of good things that have come in here.
Patricia, I just wanted to add, last week we got a lot of questions after the presentation, and I really want to encourage people. Very often a thought will come afterwards, and not everybody wants to say things publicly, but you can always email questions to us. We want to help you. It makes us feel wonderful and really fulfilled to be able to answer your questions and help. But
thank you, Nancy. And actually, if you have, if there's a slide somewhere that you can go to that has your contact information, it'd be great to land there. Perfect. Thank you. We can keep that up as we go through questions. Okay, Nancy, ready? So first question, a lot of people say they are influencers. Is there a magic number of followers they should have to work with them? Is there a database of influencers we can purchase?
There are a lot of databases that you could purchase, but like all things, there are many different values and there are many different kinds. So if anyone has specific questions, so I don't go overboard with explaining it, but there's many different ways that you could find influencers. And my suggestion is do it organically at first. Try your hand at first doing it organically, and then worry about getting involved with other services. Try it, learn how it's done, and then you can go the next step. And everyone could figure out what is their path, what are they trying to accomplish with this brand, and who personifies that. 100% who personifies that, 75% who personify on different levels, and then they can make some choices about how they're going to move forward and who they're going to go after, and then they have to do research to figure out why and how.
Great, thank you. Next question, how can you use these concepts if you are a new brand with limited sales, however in a trendy, relevant category, but with a limited budget?
I think that's a very attractive combination for some established. People want to help people who are starting out, especially if you're something that's trendy and will make people think that you're cooler because you're involved with it. I think figure out who are the people you want to go after, and then go after them and see what happened. And then of course you can always ask, get in touch with me and call me about next steps. And we understand limited budget, and you could do this on all levels of budget.
Thank you. Next question, we have been very involved with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. How do influencers work on TikTok, and what are other new social platforms we should be posting to?
How are influencers working with TikTok? I mean, there's things on there all the time. They're getting a ton of publicity. People who are involved in TikTok, they want to get more media attention. So if you can help them, come up with ideas that can help them do what they want to do, they would be open. And there's always new platforms out there. And there always will be. Remember when Facebook was really like quite the thing?
I know. Now that's old compared to all the other platforms.
There's always going to be something. There's always going to be something new. There's always going to be something exciting, and just keep on top of it or not, because a lot of the people who might be buying your product or going to your restaurant may not be, their demographic. And what I do think about traditional media, which is magazines, newspapers, television shows, blogs, it gives it credibility. And I believe that in the food category, people want to go to places that they can trust, that the food is good, that that the ingredient is a good ingredient. I think credibility reputation is really important as you're building awareness. So you always want to get more people aware of you, but it's really, really smart to start with traditional media, which is accessible to anyone, because look, we read the newspaper because it's news. So if you have something new, which everybody always has some news affiliated with their brand, great. Same thing with the news programs on your local TV show, on your local TV, and the same thing with radio, and of course there's social media as well. So thinking about traditional media and using traditional media to amp up your social media numbers is a very, very smart pathway for companies that are just starting out on this path.
Great, thank you. With the COVID issues, are topics resonating differently to guests and consumers?
To what in consumers?
Topics resonating differently.
Of course, you know, this is, we're in a very different situation than usual, and you know, I'm amazed by the amount of editorial that is given to eating and food and you know, takeout and restaurants, and people wanting to support people in the restaurant business, people who are so nervous about, you know, what's going to become of so many of the restaurants that they know and love, and restaurants that they may have meant to experience but didn't get an opportunity to. So I think that you're in a more, people are more interested in food right now, and they have opportunities, and I think this is a good time to get to know the journalists that you want to know about your brand, because maybe they have a moment. But it's very important to be compassionate, and it's very important to be empathetic, but compassionate. You know, think about what they're thinking about right now. I mean, editors, it's so difficult. Like, are we going to be back at what, you know, the many of the national magazines write 6 months in advance. So now we're talking about October, November issues. What's the world going to be like in October and November? I have no idea. And guess what? Neither do they. How crazy is that? So it's important to understand. They don't know. But what do we know? October, the end of it will be Halloween. In November, it will be Thanksgiving. You know, so there's certain things that we do know. Help them, give them the editorial that they need, in any way that you can. However, you know, when I say national magazines, something like Time and Newsweek, those are weekly magazines. So you have to think about the we call them lead times. So a blogger can be blogging about you as they're interviewing you. You know, social media moves a lot more quickly. You know, we all know what a live stream is, but something like a newspaper, it happens relatively immediate, but it's the next day, but they are planning for the future. So if you let them know what you're doing, and they're all looking for success stories, they're all looking for feel-good stories, they're all looking for advice on how to make this situation more livable, more healthful, more productive. And you guys, everyone who's listening here, has information to give to people who want that. So get it out there. And you know, people aren't in their offices, clearly. So we have to email, we have to use social media to reach them. We have to call them as best as we can reach them, because people are probably checking their office phones. So there's and in some ways people are very pressed, and in some ways they have more time. You know, I think time has become a lot more elastic, and the 9 to 5 idea isn't quite what it used to be, but I think people are open, and this is a good time. Look, you know, anytime you're reaching out to media is a good thing, but this is an especially good time to do that about food.
Great, thanks, Nancy. Next question, in order to recruit ambassadors in the category of your product, do you recommend asking influencers to try your product with free samples?
Absolutely. You don't want an ambassador who's never tried your product. You don't, like I would rather think that unless it's a really new product, I would rather think that the ambassador is already, you've selected someone who it makes sense for them to be using the product. But if not, that's cool. Definitely make sure that they try the product before they start posting. And if you're nervous about them trying the product, they are not the right ambassador for you. You have to get someone who they are going to love this.
Thanks, Nancy. The next question, how do you see influencers in the business-to-business transactional space?
Well, whoever is going to be selling your product, whether it's a food or they need to know that you have people that people are talking about your brand. Everybody wants to be the brand that people are talking about. And once people are talking about it, more people will be talking about it because it'll make everyone feel better that they know you. They knew you before you were really famous. They had great insight to figure out who was going to be great in this category. So when you are reaching out to influencers, you definitely should let the people who you're selling your product know that this effort is going on, because it's going to reap results that'll be good.
Great, thank you. Can you provide a good example of who you have worked with and what was the ROI?
We've worked with a lot of people. I could tell you that we've worked with people who sold their companies for hundreds of millions of dollars. We helped introduce a brand that when we met them were two people, and when they sold their company, they sold it for $560 million. I could tell you about a company that was trying to reach investors, because every 6 months another one of our clients seems to be getting acquired in one way or another. I could tell you that we had a company who was trying to get investors, and they were reaching out to these people, and the people never really acknowledged them or anything. And after 2 months of us working together, they ended up having the meeting that led to them being acquired by them. We have companies that are acquired by big companies. We have different kinds of partnerships that are put together. Am I answering your question? I could tell you wonderful stories about how we were opportunistic in our approach, and when people had health issues, we made sure they had the products that we represent. When they talked about situations they were having, we made sure we got the products they need, and they were more than happy to talk about the products because they're good. So you need to get your products in the hands of people who would be interested in it, and it's in their interest to know about your brand and be telling other people about the brand.
Great, thank you. That was great. Very interesting examples. The next question actually goes off that a little bit.
I just want to say that influencing the influencers, getting attention for your brand is the most powerful thing that you could do to help sell more product. There's no doubt. What?
No, sorry, that goes right into our next question about messaging your brand. The question here is, how do you control influencers' messaging about your brand after the products are in their hands?
You can help them by giving them good example, by giving them the actual copy points, by letting them know specifically what you want them to be saying about the brand, giving them literally a list of copy points, one-liners that describe the product to make it easier for them to say that. On the other hand, if you give them the product and they decide that they don't like it, you have a problem. You didn't do your initial research, but we got to get past that and start thinking about, how to control the situation. But you should be giving your products to people that you trust are going to like the brand. But, nobody is in 100% control because you're not paying them at that point.
Right. We have two more questions here. The next question is in regard to the celebrities. How do you reach celebrities and their handlers?
Research. Who's their trainer? Who's their personal chef? This is accessible information. Not always easy, but we do have the internet. And remember, there was a time we didn't. When I first started my writing career, I remember. Do you remember going to the library catalog and pulling out the little drawers, and they had little cards to help us research? Very different today than it used to be. And you could find this information out. There are a lot of directories. And if I knew specifically what the person was looking for, I'd be able to direct them pretty quickly.
Great, thank you very much. And our last question is, actually, it's good to leave off on this, I think. Again, when researching influencers online, what is a good place to look? Do you first start with social media or just simply do a Google search?
I start with a Google search because I feel like I understand the big picture. And also you want to make sure that you're getting involved with people who are credible, who you really can trust. And sometimes that takes a little bit of digging. And you have to make sure you know their background, other products that they've represented or other places they've been seen, or and of course people can make mistakes, but you want to know. So I think starting out with Google is great, and then going to any other method after that, but don't jump into these things, because if they work, they really work. And you want to be affiliated with people you're proud to be affiliated with, that say the same, that say the same thing that you want to say. So make sure you do your research.
Thanks, Nancy. Those are all great points. So again, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all this additional information. Did you have anything else that you'd like to add or leave anyone with?
Well, I think that anyone who is watching this is very smart, and I also want to say that just because you don't like doing this or it's difficult, especially in the beginning, don't not do it for that reason. Learning who the influencers are in your category may seem like a big pain in the neck. If this is something that you don't want to do, maybe there's someone who is willing to help you with this, but get help and do it. Do not do it, because it will hurt you and your brand, especially in this day and age. Marketing has never been more important. Whether you're a restaurant or a food, there's a lot of competition out there, so you really have to get your marketing together, and people do not put a lot of weight into what you say. They put weight into what other people say. So you have to get people talking about you, whether you do it or you get somebody else to do it. Very, very important. And you need to know how to use media. And my experience lately is that people, don't understand social media, and they're a little bit, they're scared of social media, and don't think that just because something costs a lot of money, it's good, So make sure when people give you marketing ideas you are understanding them very clearly. Don't let anyone talk you into something that you don't 100% understand. Make sure you understand it, because if you don't understand it when they're selling it to you, I can assure you, you're not going to understand it as it's going on, and it could be damaging and hurtful and very expensive, doing nothing at best, and bad for you as well. So you really have to understand what people are talking about. And if you start doing it and you're seeing that this isn't working, you may want to speak to professionals about what they would do. And again, if what they're saying does not make sense to you, this is not a reason to give them more money. This is a reason to ask more questions, and if not, move on to someone who can explain what marketing techniques they're using. There are a lot of companies out there that are offering a lot of things that, and they prey on small companies. So you make sure you're going to people who have a track record. And I would also say, probably not a great idea to be somebody's first marketing account. Go with people who have experience, who've been through this, because who knows what life is, what roller coaster situations are going to be going on in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years. But it's going to be a different world. Exciting, where people appreciate their food, but most important, wellness is, everybody's going to want to be stronger and healthier, and more attention is being paid to that than ever before. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, Nancy. That was definitely a great way to leave off. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. And until next time, have a great afternoon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.